I'm Tom Rowland, and this is the Tom Rowland Podcast. On today's show, we've got my friend Patrick St. Charles. We're going to talk about a couple of events. One, SEALFit Kokoro, a 50-hour event led by former Navy SEAL Mark Devine and his team of BUDS instructors and current Navy SEALs and all around tough dudes. Also, we're going to talk about an event called GoRuck Selection, which may be even one notch above the SEALFit Kokoro in terms of difficulty. Patrick did GoRuck Selection with me in class 015, and it didn't go so well. Then he came back and managed to make it to the top 3 of the most recent GoRuck Selection class. So we're going to talk about a couple of things. One, why in the world would anyone not only want to do this once, but why in the world would somebody want to do this twice? What exactly is this? And more importantly, what can doing events like this, like SEALFit Kokoro, GoRuck Selection, even maybe a SEALFit 20X, a shorter event, what can this do for you as a regular guy, as a fishing guide, as a professional? What can you gain from an event like this? What could you bring back into your life? Could this make you a better husband, a better father, a better businessman, a better fishing guide, a better tournament angler? How could an event like this allow you to see things in yourself that you come to terms with, resolve? Maybe all of a sudden you find that it's made an indelible impression on you that goes directly back into your regular life and makes you better at everything. Could an event like this do that for you? Well, we're going to find out when we talk to Patrick St. Charles. But before we get to that, I want to tell you about Waypoint TV. Waypoint TV is a free streaming service that has all the best hunting and fishing shows on there right now. It is free. Did I mention that it's free? Yes, it is free to the consumer. You can go there. You can see it on your smart TV, on Apple TV, Roku, on Amazon Fire, all types of devices, including your phone, tablet, and desktop computer. It is a website. It's an app. It is a free streaming service where you're going to find over 60 producers making the best outdoor content available. That is all free to you, so you can go there and binge away. Our shows are there. Saltwater Experience, you can go see over 120 episodes anytime you want for free. So check out waypointtv.com and figure out how you can watch whatever you want to watch on whatever device you want to watch it on. As they say, there is no off season. So now we're going to get to Patrick St. Charles, and I think you're going to enjoy this conversation. I did, and who knows, maybe it'll make somebody out there want to challenge themselves and try one of these extreme events. So, Patrick St. Charles.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. How are you?
I'm good, and glad to do this and happy to be here. And yeah, more my background. You know, I kind of met Tom. I was thinking about this the other night. It's probably been close to 10 years since.
Has it really?
It's been very close. Yes, it was 2008, I believe, is when we first started.
And that's through Will Hunt, right?
And through Will Hunt. Yeah, it's your old house. And he kind of pulled me in and brought me into this group, and crazy workouts, which I loved, and a great group of guys, and been kind of stuck ever since, and loved it. It's become a part of my life, and something I wouldn't do without. So.
Well, that's cool. And I certainly feel the same way. We have for those that don't know, I have a workout habit that has spiraled completely out of control to the tune of turning my driveway into a world-class strength and conditioning facility.
That's right.
And my wife tells me that it can only go a couple of inches further down the driveway before we have to start tearing it down, because it's quite impressive, but not as impressive as the group of people that has come to be a part of it. Patrick being one of them. We do it very early in the morning and then get on with our day. The group is mostly comprised of dads, because
Yes,
because it's just if you're into fitness or it's really important to you, and you're also a family man, which oftentimes means that's why you're into fitness, because how can you be a good dad if you can't
absolutely.
if you can't
Yep.
take care of yourself? If you're into that, it becomes very obvious as you try to make workout a priority in your life that if you plan for it in the afternoons, there's always soccer practice, there's always play practice, there's drop somebody off, there's a kid that's sick, there's
Right.
something,
Homework. I
right?
mean, everything. Yep.
Something goes on. So somewhere along the line, we realized that if you got up super early, that was your time, and so there's been a group of people that has kind of collected around that all has similar thoughts, and so the 5 day a week kind of thing works for a while until you need a little bit bigger challenge. And over the years, we've done things like Tough Mudders, Spartan Races, half marathons. Guys have done full marathons.
Some of the Ragnar Relays.
Yeah, yeah, the
Some distance
Ragnars,
ones. Yeah, those are good team ones too.
mud runs,
Right.
all
Yeah.
kinds of crazy things like that. And then a select few have gone on to graduate to some of the SEALFit events, the 20X, and then there's another level of the next level would be the SEALFit Kokoro, and a couple of us have done that, and then the GoRuck Selection, I would kind of put right up there at the top of the challenge.
I would too. Yeah. So I don't have a background in the Kokoro, which Tom, I know you went and did. And you can kind of have experience from both of those with selection, but mine's mainly based off the selection. But when I know the Kokoro, it I think has a lot of basis and similarities,
Mhm.
and what's behind it and what those events come from. And
Right. Well, explain what selection is as you know it.
so I have, and we'll talk about this in a minute. So I have two kind of different experiences from selection. So as Tom said earlier,
But what is it first?
so selection is it's GoRuck Selection, and it's based out of the GoRuck company, which is Special Forces military started company.
Green Beret mostly.
Yep, Green Beret, and they wanted to put out backpacks is their big thing, but equipment, I guess that is military worthy.
Mhm.
Their background is they started some of these events, smaller ones, challenges, just team building to mainly test their equipment. And from that point, they had such a big community arise from that, and people wanting to do these challenges. It took off for them. And based on these challenges, which are typical 8, 12-hour, 24-hour deals, there's a lot of attention from a select few people that wanted something more. Hey, what's the worst you can do? And I think out of that, selection kind of arose, and they kind of, what I understand talking to some of the GoRuck staff is they kind of pulled the worst out of Hell Week and their experiences from their Special Forces crucibles and put it all into a 48-hour event that they call selection.
So, and there is a selection, a real selection,
Correct.
which is a full-on military event. How you become a Ranger, Green Beret, right? There are different events that are selection oriented, and
Correct.
maybe that's not. Maybe is that true? You go through selection to be a Ranger, or you go through selection to be a Green Beret. I think you go through selection to be a Green Beret.
You may. I'm not, which I don't have a big military background. I mean,
I don't either.
My family does, and that's one of my reasons why I really enjoy these kind of events too. But I'm not sure. I know they all have their crucible, or kind of the SEALs have their Hell Week or selection, and they all have their, I think, week to 2 weeks of just punishment.
Right. and that's going to be the time where they've already gone through a tremendous amount of training, and then this is going to be an extended period, very little sleep, very high mobility, and just a beat down for the week. So,
Yep.
So that's what selection is to you, the worst of it.
Yeah, I think it. As far as the actual event, what it is kind of the worst parts. And I say the worst, but I guess the most demanding parts of these different military branches.
Mm-hmm. So 48 hours.
Yep.
And this was recently your second time to do it.
Correct.
So What was it that made you want to do this in the first place, the first time?
The first time I wasn't aware of this event. So I believe it was, I don't know if it's you, Tom, or another friend of ours, Clay Watson at the gym, but I know a few of y'all
Yeah,
talked.
he's the first one that brought it to my attention.
Yeah, and so maybe it was Clay. I know from coming to the gym in the mornings, some whispers going on and talking about, could we do this? And maybe, this is one of those events that not many people have accomplished. So it's kind of the event. If you do it, great. A handful of people have done it. 99% of people don't make it through it.
And when you're saying that, you're not talking about a handful of people in our group. You're talking about a handful of people, period.
Who's ever signed up to do this event, right? It's a less than 5% pass rate, and that's still true today. Typical one guy will finish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first class that we did was 015.
It was, yeah.
We were in that one together.
That was 2015, I believe. Mm-hmm. Correct.
And so what is it why did you want to do that?
My initial basis for doing that is I come from a kind of endurance athlete background. I was a runner, swimmer, triathlete right out of college, and kind of like those kind of challenges. And especially after we've done some of the mud runs, and then I always like to challenge myself and take myself to the next level. And when you all kind of talking about that sounded like the perfect opportunity to give it a try. And so I thought it'd be fun and something to get into and do. And I said, let's go do it. In hindsight, that may not have been the best decision or the right attitude going into this event, but that's how I felt. Yeah.
So when you get to the first event and looking back in hindsight, you have two experiences to draw from. Were you in over your head? Was the first event tell me about showing up and like the training that you had done to get there. And I know because we trained together for the most part, but I was coming from a slightly different place I had trained for a year to go to SEALFit Kokoro. Went to Kokoro, and Kokoro for anybody that doesn't know is a 50-hour event held by former Navy SEAL Mark Devine through his company called SEALFit. And the Kokoro is his crucible event. It's designed to be 50 hours, and it's designed to be a snapshot out of Navy SEALs BUD/S Hell Week. It's available to anyone who can pass the physical standards test, and you can go there. You don't have to be a special operator. If you wonder if you can do it, you sign up and off you go. The next thing you know, you're in the Pacific Ocean for hours at a time, and it's the real deal. There's some differences that I'd like to talk about as we discuss this between Kokoro and GoRuck Selection. But I had just gotten off of that, and I'm coming back, and I sailed through Kokoro. My training was good. I was healthy. There's no way that you're going to sail through Kokoro. I mean, I came through, and I had incredible spirits. I was high.
For GoRuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, coming through Kokoro.
Right.
I did it. Me and the group of people that I was with,
yeah,
it seemed like we sailed through, but I look back on it, it was hard. There was nothing easy about Kokoro. So we get back, and I'm healing up, and which took months.
Right.
And then I go to lunch with Clay, and he says, "Hey, man, I want to do this. This is the event." I'd never heard of it. Even being in that community and doing SEALFit Kokoro and having done a GoRuck
I hadn't either.
Before,
it's very quiet.
I had never heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, well, let's hear what it is. What is it? And so Clay shows me the paperwork. I look at it and I said, man, that's no joke. That looks like every bit as hard as Kokoro, if not harder. So we set a plan. Okay, well, when's the next one? And I think the next one was too soon.
It was,
so we planned on October 2015. So I went ahead, figured out what kind of training I would want to do for it, found the Mountain Athlete training plan, which was actually for selection, ordered that, got it, looked at it, and said, man, I'm going to need to train for a year to start this program, which was good. That
was one of my downfalls for round one.
Yeah.
was exactly that.
Well, it was a good idea. And so basically trained up for a year and then started that Mountain Athlete program, which is a 10-week program, I think.
It is.
And that put me pretty much right at selection. And we went through that training together, but not entirely. You were kind of training on your own. So tell me about the first attempt.
So with the first attempt, I think I came in, maybe Clay and you've already discussed some of this. And Michael, yeah, there's several of us. I think there's maybe five. Yeah, five of the group, and that came together to say, yeah, let's do this. And I think Tom and Clay had already had the workout program, and I looked at it and thinking of some of my backgrounds and resting on my roots. It's a heavy workout program. There's a lot of weights, but a ton of cardio and a ton of rucking. Weight.
Yeah, and the rucking is important because in this event, you are mandated to carry a 45-pound pack dry before you put food and water in it. It has to weigh out at 45 pounds, and that is going to be with you the whole time and on your back.
It is,
right?
Yeah. And then with water and food, I think the second go around, which I paid a lot more attention, I was 52 to 55 pounds, depending on what was in that pack. So, but yeah, to go back, so we looked at the workout program, and I felt comfortable with it because it had some mileage and stuff in it. So great, let's do this. And I was naive to not consider to train up to do this workout program.
Right.
And so we started, and we were going through the workout program together. We do some stuff in the mornings with the guys. With the amount of work we had, we have to get some after work or on the weekends on our own. One of my faults too was if I missed a long one, or if I missed one, or had a soccer game I had to go to, I'd miss that, and I wouldn't get the mileage in. And I would think, hey, I'm a distance athlete. I'm okay. I can make it through this. And then, in short story, we got through the training program and ended up down there, which at GoRuck, they have a physical fitness test, which you have to do at the beginning to pass the standards in order to continue going. And that to begin with. It's a set amount of push-ups in 2 minutes, a set amount of sit-ups in 2 minutes. You have a 5-mile run and then 12-mile ruck.
And just so you get the gist of this, it's in Jacksonville, Florida. It's October. It's hot. You're standing out in the hot sun for 2 hours. You're supposed to get there at a certain time, and of course they make you stand around and wait and go through all your stuff, and then you're standing out in the hot sun for a couple of hours before you get the chance to start on the push-ups.
Right.
And then you stand around for a while again in the hot sun before you get the chance to do the sit-ups.
Exactly right.
And you stand around in the sun for a little while before it's time to do this 5-mile run, and you have to come in at a certain time. And then if you make all that, you have to then strap on your 45-pound pack, which is more like 50, 55 with water. And then you have to hit this standard of, what is it, an hour and a half on the 12-mile ruck run? Was that what it was?
No,
it's 3.5 hours.
3.5 hours for the 12-mile ruck.
Boy,
but it's
you'd be really fast if it was an hour and a half.
But it's, what they don't tell you is which it changed over the two, but the first one we went down there is all in the sand. No matter where the surf was, if the surf was up and you're in the soft sand, you're doing it in the soft sand, which I didn't get to that point on round one. So, what Tom was saying, which I didn't prepare for either, is we got there and the game was on. As soon as you get there, you got up from the parking lot where you're supposed to start. The cadre automatically start, giving their orders, barking at you, be quiet, stand in ranks, and you're out in the sun standing up, for hours.
Right.
And you don't really prepare for that. And that kind of wore me down. And then I didn't train for the training program, the 10-week program we talked about. And I actually tore my calf about 6 weeks prior to starting selection. And again, I thought,
at this point, so we've lost, you're showing up hurt.
I am. Yes.
Michael Miller showed up hurt.
Yep.
Adam Levitt showed up hurt. Clay didn't even show up because he got hurt. So training for the training program was incredibly important.
That was so vital.
I think I was the only one that showed up healthy.
Correct. Yeah. And that's, I did not do enough to prep for the training program. And as a result, and not sticking directly to the program, I wound up doing too much, too late, and injured myself. And I had just enough time where I thought I could maybe recoup, put my foot on the line down at selection. But in doing that and healing, then you're sacrificing all the training from that point on also.
Right. So at what point did you have to drop the first time?
So I made it through the push-ups and the sit-ups. Those were great. I had a lot of time to train for those since I wasn't running. I had a torn calf, and I got to the 5 mile run, and I think it's a combination of being out in the heat and my injury, and I just wasn't mentally there to do it. And halfway through the run, it got me. My calf tweaked a little bit more, and I felt hurt physically and mentally, and that was it for me. And so I had to walk the rest of the way back in on the run, and then seeing you make the run and take back off on the 12-mile ruck after that was one of the worst sights I've seen in a long time. I hated. You feel like you let teammates down and partners down, and but
yeah. So a little background on this: there were 278 people that signed up for this event. I have a blog post that I wrote immediately afterwards. I could probably find it right now. It was. People were just dropping left and right because of the issues that Patrick's talking about with dehydration and standing out in the sun. And some of these guys, even one of the guys, Stoney Smith, was an eventual selection finisher.
He was, yeah,
and he's a Canadian guy, red-haired Canadian guy, not does not do well with the sun at all, and that was his demise.
It was,
which he later went on to be a great finisher of the event, which in itself is incredible. But people were just dropping left and right, and some of them, I just couldn't figure it out. Like the push-ups and sit-ups and all that was published, and you had as much time to train for that as possible. And people were showing up, and they couldn't meet the standard. So I mean, there was absolutely zero sympathy for these people from the cadre. And people were just dropping left and right. Plus, they're not thinking about, maybe they're barely meeting the standard in their training, and then the cadre is saying no rep, no rep, no rep. You're not able to do these push-ups, and all of a sudden that throws them for a loop. Then they panic and they don't get it
exactly
in.
Exactly right. And then when you're faced with the fact, if you're training and you have your standards where you have to do, get the exact numbers, but say it's 65 push-ups in 2 minutes, and you're at home in the gym or wherever, and you can knock it out and train, and I can do 70, no problem, and continue to do it. And then all of a sudden you've been staying around the heat. You're there with your nerves, a little dehydrated, cadre in your face yelling at you, not performing right. That number can drop down to 50 in a heartbeat. And I think that happened to a lot of people of not what they'll tell you to actually train above and beyond just the standards.
Yeah, way beyond. If the standard is 50, you need to be doing 100 easy.
Exactly right.
And you need to be doing 100 while somebody is causing you all kinds of distractions and whatever that may be. So I went on to pass the run, the ruck. Then there's something called the welcome party, which is a lot of hazing and beat down. So I'm just looking at my blog here, Tom Rowland Training. There's an article called Lessons Learned, GoRuck Selection 015 AAR. It says out of 278 people who signed up, and just for reference, it says today is Saturday, October 11th, and it's the morning after GoRuck Selection 015. Out of 278 people who signed up, 162 RSVP'd to show up. So a bunch of people just decided, and kind of like some people in our group got injured on the way, or just decided, man, I'm not doing this. This is crazy. So 82 of the 278 actually showed up.
Yeah, and I remember with that one, the first one we did, one of the differences, the cadre on that one, they were actually sending emails and trying to communicate every once in a while with the participants signed up, and already trying to start the mental games to get in your head and, why do this? There's no chance you're going to make it. I'll make sure you don't get through this. And
right.
I think that had a lot of effect on people too.
Definitely. So this gets even more interesting. Out of the 82, 7 were women. I'm pretty sure that I was the oldest there at 46, but I could be wrong. If I wasn't the oldest, I was definitely one of the oldest. 35 people failed the push-up or sit-up portion and were allowed to retest. After that, 23 people were sent home after failing twice. So they actually did give you a second chance there, which is very uncommon for this group of people. Now we're down to 31. 6 more dropped on the 12-mile ruck, and we started the 4-hour welcome party with 25 candidates, 2 of which were women. So I'm one of these 25 people. I look around, and my group is gone. Nobody's there.
Sorry, Tom.
I didn't know what happened. I was thinking, man, what happened? And so we're staring, these 25 people are staring at a group of the hardest men you'll ever see. Bunch of Green Berets, Navy SEALs, all kinds of special operations guys that have one goal, and that is to make this next 4 hours the hardest 4 hours of your life, which they did. No problem there. So an hour into the welcome party, we lost another 6, including one of the women. So now there's only one woman left. 16 candidates remained, and candidate 075, the last woman, drops, who 075 was also in your class.
She was, yeah.
What's her name? Do you remember?
Jolie, I believe. Julie. I'll have to go back and look at that.
Yeah, too bad. Sorry, 075,
yeah.
because much respect to you.
She's attempted many selections, probably more than
all of them from this class. She's been in every class, to my knowledge.
She has, and done actually improved every single one. This last one I did with her is the farthest she's made it. She did well.
So just looking at this, you can see 278 down to 25, down another 6. Now there's 16 left, and then 3 more drop down after the workout party, and we start the Sandbag Baby event with 13, and that's including me. By the end of the Sandbag Baby, it was down to 10, and then I dropped. Shortly after that, lost another 5, and then it was down to 3 remained, and that was the way that it was going to be for quite some time in that first event. So I think I made it about 18 hours on the first one. Really, really incredibly tough, but I learned a lot of lessons. Really did, and it was something that I'm super glad I did, but I'm not quite ready to sign up for another one right now. Maybe I will. You never know. I'm not going to put anything out of possibility, but that's what I want to ask you about. What is it that made you want to go back? I mean, you saw the condition that I came back. I did.
You were ruined.
Yeah. You saw the condition
for a while
of the finisher. You
Correct.
Saw the condition of the people who made it further than you, in by an hour, by 3 hours, by 12 hours, by 30 hours. So you get home. What are you thinking about?
My first, after I dropped, I was very disappointed. Just, I guess, in myself and my preparation for it, and not respecting, I guess, or doing my homework on this event. And I thought I could do a lot more than I could. And so with that, I have a drive, and I need to get my mind right. My mind wasn't right for that first event, and I had to kind of make a decision if this is something I really wanted, and what's my real reason for doing this. And it took me a while to get there. I mean, as I kind of got over that and thought about that event, and I went and did some other races and events in between, and I couldn't get selection out of my mind. It was something there. I felt like I left way too much on the table, and I didn't give myself an honest shot at it, and it just continued to grow, and I couldn't get rid of it. And then, based on that and really thinking upon it, found some really good reason to do it and some drive, and I wanted to go out there and
so what is the reason?
I really respect, I guess, the company, and is for me, in the way we train here at Tom's with these guys is, I like to work out and challenge myself and push myself. I mean, basically to live, for everyday life, to not be stagnant, to always push and continue to grow. And this is a way for me to do that. These challenges, I have much respect for the background of this company, and to put myself among some of the best military we have. I have some family military too, and so thankful for what they do and sacrifice. And I think in a way this is a way I can show some respect to them also. And I felt like I did a disservice to that first go round. And so it took me a year, that whole year after that, thought about it and thought about it, and finally got to a point where I was comfortable enough, and I would say, hey, I'm going to dedicate myself to this, and you have to maybe take some time away from your family, which is hard, from your business, from your work, and other things in life, and find out a way to really schedule and to do something this magnitude. And I was able to do that. So I made the decision probably late summer, August in 2016 to really give it a go for the 2017 back down in Jacksonville. So then we went ahead and I signed up right there at the beginning of the year. I not only had that one training plan we've had before that incorporated, but I did my homework, and I actually had 3 training plans I did prior to that to get ready for that. And it made a huge difference.
So just kind of stair-stepped it up and
it
increased
did,
the volume.
It increased the volume, kind of did my homework on it, make sure your mind's right and that you're both physically and mentally there.
Yeah. So at the just to give a little bit of reference here, at the peak of the training, what kind of time do you think you're putting in per day or per week? I mean, I think I have a pretty good idea of.
I do too. So my time, we can say per week. So you're at least 2 hours a day. Is how mine did. And you have a day off a week. You need your body to rest, but you're building up. So you may start that hour and a half a day, and then you're going to eventually get to doing 2-a-days. Long 2-a-days, and then on the weekends you're going to get to to a point where you're doing 4 and 5 hour workouts, and really adjusting your body and your mind too to be able to compensate for that and push through it.
You have done other events.
I have, yeah.
Ironman? Have you done?
I've not. I've done many half Ironmans, done many 24+ hour adventure races.
Mm-hmm. So you have an idea of an Ironman training. Compare the training of a Ironman or a half Ironman to what you were getting ready for on this one.
So with triathlon or Ironman, a half Ironman, many people know it's locking in the miles. So you're out there and just putting in the miles, and it's mainly 3 disciplines. You're swimming, running, and biking.
Mm-hmm. But what about just the overall time?
It may be comparable. I think the time maybe with a full Ironman, the time frame with the selection, it may be comparable. With the half Ironman or the mini that I did, it was you're maybe training 14 to 20 hours maybe a week. I think is what I was doing.
So that's like a job for most people.
It is correct. Yeah.
So you come back from this and you decide, is this something that you have to talk to your wife about? Is this like, how do you manage to put that kind of?
You should talk to your wife about. Let me put it that way. There might be some big red flags going up if you just showing up at 10 o'clock at night, not telling anybody where you are. Especially if you have a family. I mean, even if you're just married or if you have kids, it's a large commitment. It really is, and so it's something you'd want to sit down. And luckily, my wife is an endurance athlete and trail runner too, and so she spends a lot of time training also, and it may be a little easier for her to wrap her head around. But it's a commitment because you're going to be out for 5-6 hours on a weekend. You're going from 6 in the morning to maybe 5 in the afternoon sometimes, and when you could be playing with your kids or going to the soccer game or doing something else or helping around the house. And
right.
So it's very important to make sure everyone's on page with it and okay with it.
Mm-hmm. So you make this commitment and you decide to go. And our group didn't necessarily rally around you on this one.
No, I think they saw the results from round 1 and that got a lot of people out of it fast.
I've got some demons inside probably, but GoRuck Selection will do a good job of quieting them. If you've got a burning drive and you feel like you need to be challenged, this thing will challenge you to the point to where you're going to resolve a lot of things
you will,
in your head.
Best quotes I've heard. This, I believe, one of the cadre said, if you're going to attempt this, you better really like yourself.
Yeah.
Because one of the requisites, one of the things during selection is you are not allowed to communicate or talk with anyone unless the cadre speaks to you. And so you're in your head the entire time.
Yeah. And this goes deep into if someone were to fall down and break their leg next to you, you are under strict orders to just keep on going. The cadre will take care of that person. You are not to issue help. That's a what would they call that? An ethical violation or a moral
Correct. Yeah.
an ethical violation. You're not to talk.
Yeah, there's several people that they didn't break anything, thank goodness, but they were hurting or going slow or down in front of me, and
Sure.
I can't tell you how many times the cadre is like, go over top of them.
Right.
Do not let them slow you down. You will dominate that person in front of you.
Right. I mean, and
At all costs.
it is all about a singular focus, and the difference. The big difference between the GoRuck Selection, the GoRuck Selection, and the SEALFit Kokoro is that they are very, very, very similar, except they are also exactly opposite. SEALFit Kokoro, we learned extremely quickly that the only way to success is through teamwork. If someone were to fall down in front of you and you did not help them up, you were severely punished. And you were severely punished until you came together as a team. And they wouldn't tell you, look, we're going to keep punishing you until you come together as a team.
Right.
They're going to continue to punish you until you get it through your thick head that, oh, this is what we're here for. We're here to come together as a team with all of these strangers under the greatest duress I've ever been in my life. You have to figure this out, and you all
Right.
have to figure it out. And then once you do, you become an unstoppable force that nothing can hold you down. And it was told to us there that at your darkest moment, at the moment when you think you're going to quit, at the moment that you think that you cannot go any further, if you extend a hand and help someone else who is in a worse situation than you are, you will buoy both of your spirits up. And that's how you get through all these things. That worked. It worked incredibly. And when I say I sailed through Kokoro on the shoulders of
Right.
all of these strangers that I had no idea. And I learned that, and I learned the value of teamwork. And that's something that I brought back immediately into my family, into my business, into every leadership position that I have in my life of you are nothing alone and you are everything together.
Exactly right.
You
Yeah.
are an absolute unstoppable force as a team, any team, sports team, a business team, a family, a group of friends, whatever. If you are all on the same page, there is an exponential strength that you will never have as an individual. And they would say that there at Kokoro, that Rambos don't make it. Meaning that if you try to go out here and just make this all by yourself, man, you will never make it. And we saw it. Some people did not get on board and they did not make it and they were left in the dirt. Now, when we go to selection, it is exactly the opposite. You're doing burpees, you're carrying stuff, you're rucking, you're walking, you're running, you're in the water, you're doing all of the same
there's
things.
no helping the other people out there. They don't want you to no eye contact, no encouragements, no nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I trained alone for the most part. I mean, around the
did
group.
too,
And
yeah.
but when we would go on these rucks, I'm thinking, okay, well, I can't talk to anybody. Okay, I won't talk to anybody. I won't listen to any music. I won't listen to podcasts. I won't do anything. I'll just go. And I'm thinking that's enough. But what you don't realize, and what I quickly realized, but I may not have, had I not had the Kokoro experience, is what an unbelievable blow it is when you cannot communicate with other people.
Oh, it's miserable. It's because when you train like this and do events and in business and life, you ride these waves. So you're going to be up high feeling great. And then you're 10 miles in or something happens and you're feeling at your low point. And that's where you benefit from the partner beside you or your team. And, you push through it, then you get back up and you go. We're training for selection, and I did the same thing. I did a lot of miles in training by myself, as Tom did. And and then during the event too, a lot of guys I noticed the second go round, which I did a lot better and made it to the top, 3. But the guys who were at their low point and couldn't push through it and adapt with that, that's the cadre would see that, they would expose that weakness, and they were gone. They were out.
Yeah, and it doesn't take much.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a point, and we can certainly talk about it because that's the main focus of this, is that there is a point to where you can go no further, or at least you think you can go no further, and you drop.
And to touch on that a little bit from my experience, especially going through the second selection where I felt like I did leave it all out there, is I don't think they maybe portray that message as teamwork to you. Definitely during the event, it's not. But my takeaway from it, what I've learned is it embraces that more. So when I come back and reflect on selection and how I did better the second time and my reasoning, and it's because of my team. It's because of my friends, my workout group, my family who sacrificed to let me train for this. So you're doing the event as an individual, but what keeps you going is you have that team, you have that support behind you,
right?
And
so you that's your why. That's the catchphrase these days is what's your why, and keep it close. So let's fast forward this a little bit. You come back from the first one. You decide that you're going to do it, and what's the time period between the two events?
Between my first one and the second one I did. So the first one was roughly October 2015, which I got broken and ruined and destroyed, and, had to really kind of reevaluate what I wanted. And it made me think a lot just about that, but life in general. And it took me, probably better part of 8-9 months to really overcome that and find out what I really wanted to do. And so by October of 2016, I was committed. I signed up, and by the beginning of the year, I decided I need a solid 10 months. So I was already training at this point, but to start the training program, so the beginning of 2017, I started. So I had everything planned out by that point, and I started my training programs, and now so we're doing it.
Okay, so now you're signed up and you're ready to go.
Years.
And in the meantime, there has been one other class. It's not like there's a lot of classes of this.
No, about one a year.
Yeah, maybe, or maybe at some point there might have been more. I don't know, but maybe one a year. But one of the people who was in our first class, 015, Stoney Smith, he has an opportunity to do one in Bozeman, jumps back on it, gets in there, is a little more comfortable in the mountains and the cold than he was in the hot and sun, and comes out ahead. Was that?
Yeah.
Did that have anything to do with? I mean, you're thinking, I saw this guy. I know if he can do it, I know.
Yeah. So after the first one too, there is some information, and there's from finishers a lot of AARs, which are after action reports, which are pretty much these finishers' experiences of the events, and that's a great point. So I got on and I read a lot of them, not just Stoney's, because he completed many of the years prior to that, and you start reading deeper into that and these guys' thoughts and drives, and it's a great motivator. But also too, in seeing him how fast he went in and out in that first one and came back around within that next year and completed it.
Yeah,
it shows you it can be done.
There's more going on there than just the sun and the heat and stuff like that. That's a complete mind shift.
It is,
because I mean, so here you are, you drop out first event, you don't even make it to the ruck, which is, I mean, the event hasn't even started, basically.
Right. Yep.
So you're disappointed, you come back, you've got a different mindset. What are you thinking going into the second event?
So with what little I had from the first, you still have to take away a lot. So in that, I was still there. I didn't make it into the actual event, and just halfway through the PT test, and I was probably still there 5 or 6 hours. I mean, that's how long this takes, and you're out there dragging around. So I knew more what to expect, and I knew really why I wanted to do it, and had a good reason for it. And
so again, though, what is that? What is that reason? It can't be that you just have respect for the military.
No. I mean that's just bonuses. So that's just, hey, I have a lot of family who've been in the military and contributed and have respect for the military.
What is really going on there? Because you can go and be in and watch the Veterans Day parade.
My drive for this stuff is it's my family and friends. It really is. So it's my team, my personal team in life behind me.
But what about it? I mean, they're behind you, but in the darkest of the darkest moments of an event like this, and I know what this is like, you gotta dig deep, and I'm talking about digging deep. And me and a lot of people that are going to listen to this watched you on Facebook. There's a Facebook Live and all these updates and stuff like that. And man, I'm talking full on complete misery. And you're digging deep and you're going on. And that doesn't come from just wanting to be a tough guy. That doesn't come from.
No, I left that. I mean, you can say that maybe was the end of my tough guy career in 2015. Kind of put it into that real fast. Yeah,
because that doesn't do it. That is
no,
not
even
enough.
close. No.
If you want to see how tough you are, you're going to find out about the first 3 hours, and it's not that tough. There has to be something. This is my experience anyway, of the people that I know that completed Kokoro, the people that I watched go and complete selection, the people that went further than me, the people that were right beside me, all of them had reasons, big time reasons that resonated deeply. And, we've never talked about that, you and I.
No.
What is that for you?
Mine, for me, my deep one, really, it's. I mean, I have so much respect and love for my friends and my family. Really, what it is. So they've always been there growing up and given me, made me work for it, but give me these great opportunities and to push myself in the life I have. And this group we work out with too in training. So we've been doing it for 10 years, and they're great friends. And you see these people who come in way overweight or way out of shape and health issues, and they have these drives and they change their lives really. And I want to be a part of that. I want my life to mean something. I want to be a good example for my family, for my kids, and for my friends. To continue and want to push and better themselves. And maybe with that, I can not only help myself, but the people around me. It may motivate
Through
the people around me through example. Right? Yeah, and that's a huge thing with me that's resonated a long time. And I know both my grandfathers before they passed, and even when I was young. And there's nothing more important than family and friends and the people you can change around you.
So as you're going through this, what kind of fears are you having? Like
oh man,
because the whole thing's scary.
And that's the horrible thing about doing it before too, and then having to drop out halfway through the first round. So, so I felt like my training, I felt great. So I trained up through my second round. I was in the best shape of my life, close to it before I even started the training program. And then that way, the training program went really well up to selection. And I felt good. I was crushing the time hacks for the physical fitness test. So I wasn't quite doing 100 push-ups, but I was in the high 80s to 90s.
Yep.
And, my rucking was flying and my running was doing really well. And so I felt good. So that part, my physical part felt good. I was most nervous about the mental part going in. Did I have the drive and did I have the right reason why? And could I hold it together in my darkest part when those guys are on me? So I was really nervous about that. And I think that kind of showed when I first started. We got up and we did the push-ups. And I was up there and I felt good, but the nerves kicked in right there. And they tell you to get down, get in push-up position, the cadre over top of you, 2 minutes, go. My arms were shaking uncontrollably. And I knocked out, I think I got 82 push-ups, when I was doing in the 90s before, and but above standard. And then I kind of got settled in, knocked out the sit-ups, and then we had a break. And like you referenced before, there were several people there, and some huge, strong guys looked like they were pro football players. And it blew my mind. I thought they'd do great, and they were out in the sit-ups or push-ups, and I think nerves and stuff got them, and they probably killed it in their gym somewhere. And never make the mistake, obviously, of assuming about some of your competitors or teammates. But and that was kind of a mental thing for me too, watching other people around you that you think so strong and go down so fast. Really kind of weighs on it. But
and you look at that. I mean, I had the same thing happen to me in Kokoro when I first got there. I am paired up with this guy who literally looks like a superhero. He had a military haircut. He was probably about 230 pounds. He could probably, he was so much more physically capable than I was. And we hadn't been going 2 hours. And we did something, and we were running on the beach, and it's a beautiful day in California. And I'm looking around going, this isn't that bad. And he says, I'm out. I quit.
Right.
And I just thought, of all the places and times to quit, we haven't even started yet.
The same.
And that gets back to, it's really not the physical as much as it is the mental. I mean, he just kind of looked at that and thought, man, I can't do this for the next.
Well, the majority of people who are going to an event like this are going to show up in pretty top physical condition.
Unless they're injured.
For the most part, correct. Unless you're injured, and which I did, and I went that route. But they are. So there's a ton of mental. But to touch on that too, we had that one big guy, but there's also, I think we had a Marine recon in my class for the second one, and a guy planning to go into the BUDS program in 2 weeks. He's already, in the Navy, planning to go to BUDS.
Probably a real good idea to let that information out before the event.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let me tell you, when you let that information out, he's planning to go in the BUDS, which is a SEALs program, to a bunch of Rangers or Green Berets, they're going to eat that up. But so of course, I have these, young guys, these guys going to special forces training, these, they look like these NFL tight ends, the superheroes back there. And then he drops. And so that affected me, but the other military guys were in there and I was still hanging. So that boosted me a little bit. And so we're getting to the endurance part, we get to the 5 mile run, which I'm a fairly strong runner. And so, I was like, just go your own pace and middle of the pack and work your way through it. And I did on the run, and we started, and everyone took off just flying, and I kind of held back, and I was middle of the pack, and I kind of knew my pace in my training programs, and by the turnaround point, I was out front. Everyone slowed down, and I just held my pace, and I was a minute ahead of the turnaround, and continued through the finish, and felt great.
So at this point, you're further along than you were the first time.
Yeah, and that really kind of settled me down.
And so you crushed the ruck.
Yeah, and so the ruck, after the run, we put on our 45-pound pack. Then I thought all the ruck was going to be on the beach from the last experience, and leave it to the cadre. We ruck halfway down on the beach. We do. So we go down, we hit these big pillars in the sand. There's a cadre sitting there. And he's like, hey man, turn around. You're a mile away. You're almost there. Just go and you got it. No problem. He was the good cop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we turn around, we hit the second cadre about a mile down. We think that's the end because you have no idea. You don't have a watch. No one tells you mileage. And so he goes, man, listen, sorry, you're not even close to being done. You're not going to make it. You're behind your time hack. Why don't you just jump in this truck right here and we'll take you back to the hotel.
Hot coffee,
no problem.
donuts
yeah,
in there
exactly
too.
What they said. Exactly. No problem. And that's test one.
Yeah.
So I was kind of expecting that, and felt like I was doing good on the ruck. And so they point you back into the streets off the beach, and which was another mind game for me. And off I went and completed the ruck within the time and did well. I think I was third on the ruck. But in that, I learned behind, the BUDS class guy dropped. The recon guy dropped.
Yeah.
Right behind
that's what
me,
happened to me in the welcome party. I look around, nobody's there.
It blew my mind that they did that. And the cadre con talking about it, and of course they're using that against you. Hey, these are the guys going to special forces. They dropped. One guy ran out of water, and I think it really messed with his head because he didn't know how far away he was from the end, which wasn't far. And everyone has their reasons, but yeah.
So now the event begins, and I don't want to go through every little piece of it, but I mean, you find yourself more and more and more people are dropping, and
I do, yeah. So we put numbers real fast. I think we started out. There may have been something in the I don't know the exact, say 40 to 50 that showed up to start for that 2017, this last one. By the end of the ruck, I think it was maybe down to 15.
Yeah,
I believe is what that many people left right there at the beginning. And then that was the start. That 4-hour torture test they call the welcome party.
The welcome party.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
And the welcome party is going to consist of 4 hours of burpees and running and rucking and
it's anything
going
you
in the ocean and everything that you can imagine. People are throwing up
and water and
tackling one another.
It never ends, and it's at least where we were. It was they had us secluded back in the swamp, in the worst swamp area you can think of in Florida, and this is where we were. And they had one gravel parking lot on one side of the swamp, and there's trails, and you go through the swamp to get to this other one. And finally, I figured out they roughly spent about 30 minutes with us, drilling us at one, and they send us running through the marsh to get to the other guy. And then that guy would drill us, and they send us back, and there'd be another cadre back there. They just keep rotating.
Yeah.
and really get in your head. But yeah, that
so
was an experience.
just to figure this out a little bit, and to give reference, this thing started. They told you to show up at what time? Noon.
This was So we may have been a noon, 1:00 start.
Okay,
Correct.
so 1:00 start. You do the push-ups, the sit-ups, the 5-mile run, the 12-mile ruck. Now you're in a 4-hour welcome party. The welcome party's over. So what time were we looking at now?
So we're still in the wee hours of the morning. So all that we're probably, I would have to say, which I have no idea, but we have to be somewhere in the 4 o'clock in the morning.
So it's 4 o'clock in the morning. I found myself in the same situation.
Yeah.
It's 4 o'clock in the morning. You have now done your push-ups. You stood around in the sun. You did your sit-ups. You ran 5 miles. You rucked 12 miles. You did 4 hours. You basically did a CrossFit workout for 4 hours. Now, this is what people don't know about this event. There has been zero nutrition.
None. Yeah. So I think from some of the events leading up to this, the last one we did in 2015 in Jacksonville with the heat and some dehydration issues, the only nutrition we had is they made us pour the rehydration supplement, which is pretty much the salt packet. They make you pour it in your Nalgene bottle and chug it.
You got that? We didn't get anything.
Yeah, they made us bring it. That was the newest thing they brought. So we didn't have Gatorade or anything like that, which I think they had in a previous one, but they made us, because it was hot again, but chug that. And if you ever tried to chug Saltwater, about half of us got it down and the other half of us threw it up.
Yeah, but still, I mean, that's a major deal right there.
But that's all we
because
had.
in Kokoro, they made sure that there was electrolytes in the water. In Selection, I found that to be the hardest thing. Was all of a sudden, you're going for 18 hours and your body is locking up because you have no nutrition. So this sounds extreme because it is extreme. I mean, this is the hardest endurance event in the world, coupled with the fact that you're carrying a 45-pound pack, which is now 60 because you're in the water all the time.
Wet. Yeah.
And on top of that, you haven't had anything to eat, and you're lucky to get water.
You are. Well, they do provide you plenty of water.
They provide you plenty of water, but you have to earn the right to pour it into your bottle.
Exactly right. or to find the point in between of them, drilling you and through the exercising and commands.
Yeah.
To actually remember to hydrate yourself.
Remember is exactly right.
Huge,
and they never tell you that you can't drink any water.
They tell you at the very beginning, which I didn't pay attention to at the first one, when you sign a waiver. It is on you to remember to rehydrate yourself and do what you think is right.
Well,
that's the only
Cadre Burt, who was the guy that ran my selection in 2015, he wrote an article that was on GoRuck that said selection is nothing but a hydration contest. And
I read that.
You have to really remember to hydrate. And remember to hydrate is, I mean, they are you're going to get yelled at if you hydrate. I mean,
you are,
because you now are doing something other than what they told you to do, even though that's what they told you to do, right? They told you to hydrate, but not exactly. So they told you to also do burpees. So you're reaching for your hose to get to your bladder, and now you're not doing burpees like as fast as they want you to. So now you're
most of the time you are
can't
trying
do anything
to sneak some water while you're face down in the mud puddles.
Right. So a lot of people fall prey to dehydration.
They do,
and
it's
because
so crucial in those things.
First of all, you're working out for really an extended time. I mean, even in your training at this point, you're 12 hours in. You've had plain water, maybe this rehydration pack, nothing to eat. So not a lot of people are working out for 12 hours without any kind of hydration or not hydration, but nutrition. So that's another factor for sure. But you overcome that and you go on this time. So
I actually knew a little bit of that going in from talking to you as one for your previous experience in that 015, and then reading some of these reports online from previous finishers and competitors who made it and didn't make it. So so I actually incorporated some. That's not true fasting, but so I would maybe not have breakfast in the morning on the weekends and something, and then we maybe do a 4 or 5 hour workout, and then
So you're training some of that, but There's no way to prepare for it.
There's
because
not, no.
Also, what happened to me, I was also, they were putting us in the ocean and out of the ocean, and I ingested a bunch of salt water, so now I'm throwing up, and you're losing all kinds of
Right.
whatever you
Yeah.
might have in there anyway. You don't have anything, but I mean, you are truly depleted. And just, we did workouts like Triple Murph, getting ready for this thing for 015 and for your event. We're doing
Right.
these extended 3-hour workouts and trying not to drink anything other than plain water, no food, probably no food from the night before. And that's preparing you some.
It is.
But,
I think it's more mental preparation though too. So you get to, obviously you need to to feed your body after you do workouts and train like this. So you don't need to fast and deplete your body. It's just gonna hurt you. But I think having a little bit of that in your training, it kind of adapts your mind mentally to what to expect. So yeah, I feel a little lost. I'm having some stomach cramps or whatever.
So as I was watching on Facebook, it seemed like there were a fair number of people, and then it really dropped down to like maybe 4 or 5 of you.
It did, yeah. So they were, I think at the end of the welcome party, they were 7. So we started with, I don't know the exact number, say 15 to 17. And through that 4 hours, it dropped quickly. And we got down to 7. And one of the people, that's in the welcome party. And one of the guys that dropped right at the end of the welcome party was Adam, which is another friend of ours who did it in the first one, and he ended up doing this one. And he trained well and was in great shape. And we were going through the welcome party together and strong. He actually pushed me down in the mud a few times to do that at whatever cost, pays to be a winner. I think his issue was he had a problem with some of the water. And I think they had some, at least what he told me, some of the sulfur Florida water wasn't agreeing with him well. And it kind of got down. But so we lost him, and then a couple others right then. So it got down to a core, 4 or 5 people.
So 4 or 5 people. One of them is a woman.
It is. Yeah, she did great.
Toughest woman I've ever seen.
And for half that welcome party, to put it, she when she got punished, I guess, what they'll do for not doing some of the exercises correctly, she spent half that welcome party getting personal attention from 2 cadre.
I saw that. I watched that.
Yeah.
And they had 2 of them.
They had 2 of them there. Yeah.
2 of them, and were just beating them down.
Which is way more intense than being with the group.
Right.
So that is, I don't know how she did that, but that is.
Yeah, and she made it through. And then you guys continue. And at this point, the Facebook Live feed is even more personal, because now you're kind of getting to know who these people are a little bit. There's some chatter going on. Oh, that's this person.
Right.
And here's a link to their bio. So people are starting to read about this. We lose Adam, and we're really cheering for you. And it really gets down to 3 of you. People kept dropping, and it was hard to watch these people drop, because they were, it was hard to understand by watching Facebook if they were dropping because they were breaking mentally, or they were breaking physically, or both. And maybe some of the people that have actually finished an event like this would tell you that you never break physically, you only break mentally. I mean, what do you think about that?
I think it's a little of both, and there may be some people that they get injured or have some physical condition they can't control, and it's physical. I think the majority of it is mental, is why you drop, but mental based on physical conditions, I guess, to put it that way. So there was 4 of us down there, I guess after the welcome party when the sun started to come up. And so this wasn't far off when I actually dropped. I think I was in it, I don't know what it was, 22 hours or something like that. And what kind of got me, to put in perspective, so we got down to 4, and then I don't want to give away a whole lot of what we do in the welcome party, but there was a log PT, and which was doable, but it just kind of got in my head. I'm 5'10".
So log PT is when you're lifting. There may be 3 or 4 of you. You're lifting the log over your head. You're carrying it down the beach. You're doing all these exercises with it.
There is, yeah. So they find a sequoia, floating in the swamp of Florida, and so that's what we have. But So the other guys lined up with me. These guys are, they're physical specimens. They're 6'2", and I'm in great shape, but I'm 5'10", and so I'm on the log with these guys, and we're doing all the work. But the overhead stuff, the stuff we have to shoulder it, my shoulder's not hitting the log.
Good for you. Bad for them.
Yeah, you think. So I'm getting my head on it, my hands on it, whatever I can do to help the team. And all the cadre can see I try, but I'm just not putting it there. So, they go and find me another token of great weight and odd size, which I don't know how they found this in the swamp either. And so they separated me away from the team at that point. So, and I had this heavy weight, and I had a personal intention from one cadre. Just in my ear and going, and that broke me down physically. It was a little more weight than the log I was used to, and then I think slowly mentally that I was doing it. So
it's a sandbag, right?
It was what they gave me.
Mm-hmm.
No.
This didn't end up with a sandbag. That was the other guy.
This was a piece of road. So it's about 10 inches thick and about 2 feet wide piece of asphalt. So they found somewhere in the Florida swamp.
Right.
So I don't know his weight. It felt like it weighed 500 pounds. It probably weighed 80 or something. I don't know, but. So while they're doing the log, I had to follow them with this, this piece of asphalt, and I would drop it. The cadre would say, "No problem." He'd pick it up for me, and then he'd take it back and throw it 100 yards behind me. And I have to go back and get it, do it again. So, that wore on me a lot, and especially not, being up there with the other competitors in the team, I think wore me a little bit, but I got through it. So, my philosophy is, hey, kind of live in the moment, just get through what's right in front of you, that mission right in front of you, and move on to the next task. And so I got through that, and then went back to the next thing. I think we had to do a duck walk race. They kind of established position for the last 4 of us that were there, and that's what ultimately got me. I was down, in the gravel parking lot. We're doing some duck walks with the weight behind us, and the cadre was sitting there and telling you to do it right, hands above my head. I try to put my hands above my head, but our bodies are pretty depleted at this time. So my stabilizer muscles or whatever, they'd fail. We'd fall over. I'd get back up, try it again. Then the one line that really stuck in my head was, you're not doing this right. You can keep going, but you're not doing this right. Is this the way that you want to finish selection? They put that little bug in my ear, and then they saw me at a low point. And so I made it a little farther, and I felt like I was cheating if I didn't do the movement right. And, that poked up into me, and one of the cadre, Ragnar, was very kind and said, "Hey, is that it?" He caught me at the wrong time right there. And I said, "That's it." And at that point, man, I felt like I laid it out there. I was just, physically, I felt like I got down the duck walk and I was just stuck there. I couldn't really will in that position, my legs to move like I wanted them to. And I felt like I wasn't doing it correctly. Which on the flip side, I spoke with Jason, who's the head of GoRuck and puts on this event. And one of the things I really respected that he said is, "Hey, we're going to do that to you. We're going to tell you that. Do whatever it takes to move and get on the next thing. Just get through it." And everyone has their highs and their lows and rides a wave, and it's going to be a different point. So, if you're sucking wind, you're at the back of the low, just get to the next thing. But yeah. And so that was it. So I pulled on that, and there's another guy who went right with me. And he was the lead guy. He was winning the whole way and came out right with me. And
so you two dropped right there. And that's what happened in my class too, is there were 10, I dropped, and then within 10 minutes, another 5 dropped.
Exactly right.
I mean, it was this moment of weakness, and they prey on it, and boom, 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 they all go down.
Yeah.
And at this point, there's 2 left, right?
There are 2 left. Yeah.
So it goes, I mean, you are so depleted that you cannot get your hands over your head, and still no nutrition.
Still no nutrition at this point.
So nobody's had anything to eat.
No, and they make you carry some with you.
Here's what is incredible to somebody that doesn't know this event, or maybe even more incredible to people that do know this event. You take a guy like Patrick and the other person that was there with you that just dropped, and these guys are in peak physical condition. They've mentally already been able to go through a tremendous amount. But there is another level. There is another level, and that other level is shown shortly. And you're at 22 hours. The event is a 48-hour event. and one of these guys finishes.
Yeah, and it's kind of making it to that 24 hours seems like it kind of be the pinnacle, and that was one of my goals. So it seemed like if you can make the 24-hour mark,
Yeah.
then you can make it. Just looking at some of the history, I guess, the guys that finish, it seems like the guy or two guys who make it to the 24-hour mark typically can make that last 24 hours. And of course, you don't know when that 24-hour mark is. But
yeah, but then you have like in our first class, 015, you had roster number was it 038 that was winning the event all the way, doing the best, and actually had serious physical issues.
he did. Yeah, is hospitalized.
His kidneys shut down, and so that's a place where he mentally overcame his body, but his body betrayed him and just would not let him go.
Yep.
But so you do this event. The guy, you go out, an incredibly reputable time. You're there for longer than most. You obviously overcome tremendous stuff. What does this mean to you?
So I wasn't disappointed when I pulled. I felt like maybe if I didn't make it to the end of this one, I would be. Going into it, and you need to think like this. I'm going to finish. These are my reason why I'm going to make it to the end. Nothing else is acceptable. But no, I felt like I really laid it all out there. I was happy and with how I performed, and I learned so much just about life and getting through hard times and good times, and going back to teamwork, even with the people which I've hardly met besides Adam. I didn't know anybody else there at Selection. I wasn't able to talk to anyone at Selection. But just those last four of us, the hours we spent together, just beside each other, working together, it's such a boost of confidence. And, I actually felt super strong with these other people behind me. Probably the best I felt to that point with the logs. And it wasn't really until, they separated me out that, kind of got to me. But I think it's an underlying theme is for me, the teamwork, the people around you. And
it's interesting that you come back from an event where you can't talk to anyone and you can't help anyone and you can't act as a team. And that's what you come back from this event. Because I had a similar kind of epiphany about teamwork, but it was entirely different context. So you're coming back with teamwork. What is it about teamwork that you get out of this event?
The people around you, and you're pushing each other. You really are. So it's kind of set up with this event. It's the competitors and the cadre is how I see it when I got there. The competitors, it's one team, and the cadre, they're there to weed you out. They're push you to your breaking point to give you everything you can handle and to see who can and who can't. And so it's I think it's nearly impossible to do that by yourself. And at least for me. And the people there beside you, and everything's a competition, everything's a race. But you can't say it, but there's a camaraderie and a support against the people doing it. Everybody knows the training that had to go into this thing, the dedication, the sacrifice that goes into that. And so I think that's all there.
So how do you take that? How do you take that and bring it back to your regular life? Because most of the people that are doing this, I mean, some are looking for military service or getting ready for other training, but most are like you or I. They're regular people with regular jobs or whatever. What is it that you take back from these two events that you bring back into your life you're a contractor, right? You build houses.
I am. Yes, I'm a contractor.
So what do you take back into that?
There's a lot of similarities, actually. And I'm sure it goes across the board with other professions too. But so in a contract, and there's a lot of moving parts, there's a lot of chaos, but you come back and, you can't do it all by yourself. So there needs to be structure, scheduling, and you need to rely on your team is what I do. So I'll go back and with my subs and my supervisors, and I guess I employ a more of a ownership or pride in each person. So where maybe before that, I want to oversee everything and be in control of everything. now I want to give that power to more of my team. And so we're more on of a working together instead of more of a, I don't want to say kind of hierarchy, I guess, in the stuff. But
did you come back with, I mean, that's a real good thing to come back from with this teamwork and how you can improve your business. Did you come back at all with any sort of challenges, like, for instance, people are just not that tough around you? I mean, you were just with some of the toughest people in the world,
yeah. So,
and now this guy over here is
Well,
complaining because he needs a sweater because it's too cold in here.
exactly right. Yeah. So obviously you start seeing things a little differently, and at work versus other events and stuff you do. So say before selection, hey, a marathon or something sounds tough. After I'm like,
Yeah, I'll do that with a backpack on.
Yeah, no problem.
In fact, I did every Saturday for the last 16
right,
weeks.
Yeah, and so more of a broad scheme, I guess. Things that seemed like before they were big issues or something to have a fuss over or like that is not that important. You know you can overcome that. You know you can work through it. You're going to get over the lows and get to the highs. But yeah, I guess you have a feeling more of what you're capable of and more, both mentally and physically what you can push yourself to do.
And so, what is
strive
that?
for.
What are the limits?
I don't know yet.
Right.
Be honest, yeah, I really don't. I don't feel like I felt obviously selection pushes you to the limits or about thereof, but
it makes you find limits.
it does.
You found your limit. I found my limit.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is in both of our classes, somebody went on. Somebody kept on moving and
Absolutely.
finished.
Yeah.
So that would be my question now. If there were a selection 3 for Patrick, what does it take to finish?
I think a big thing, at least for me, and typical I felt like in life and in work too, is taking something from your previous experience. So learning both training, but what it means to you, in your life and physically, and taking that and advancing that forward. How can I build upon this? How can I make this better? And so, yeah, I know some guys are out there and say, "Hey, I'm going to do this." They did it, knock it out, and that's it. Maybe that was their goal. I think selection for me is a challenge, but it's a stepping stone in life. It's a way I can advance myself and do better.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to, I take that from selection and some lessons I've learned in work and family. I want to be an example of that, I guess. And so if my kids are playing sports or in school, or have a hard day or a hard game or something, for them to be able to, for themselves, mentally to be able to say, "Hey, let's get up and do it again."
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
well, there are so many lessons. Some of the things that well, was there one thing that you take away from selection? And first of all, before we get into that, has there been a day that has gone by that you haven't thought about selection in some way, shape, or form?
It's a good question, and very seldomly. So, if I don't think about it every day, and it's still in the back of my mind, it's not 2 days that go by that I don't think about it.
Right.
Absolutely, and in a very positive way. I mean, it is the first round I was disappointed and didn't have a good experience with it and felt left a lot on the table. This one, it's great. I mean, it's a great motivator. It still motivates me when I think about it a lot, and you can look back and it's accomplishment. And what I take away from it, a big thing is the work. It's the work and the dedication and everything you put in. You put in just to put your foot on the line to start it.
Right.
And that's a huge thing for me.
Yeah, and win or lose, I mean, most people are losing in this event. I mean,
Right.
if you call it that, right? Like, I'm hesitant to say most people are losing in this event because, for my own reasons, I mean, I would love to call myself a selection finisher, like I can call myself a Kokoro finisher. But to me, that's not winning. Winning is being able to do this event and take away from it something that makes you a better person in life, something that isn't a temporary thing that you come back and it's like when you read a self-improvement book or something like that, and all of a sudden, for 2 weeks you're cruising, you're doing what the guy said, and you're writing in your journal or you're doing whatever he said, and things are good, but then it doesn't stick and it's not a permanent change. And then there are other things that you do that are full on experiences. And these experiences, like for some, it may be a marathon. For others, it may be a SEALFit 20X. For others, they have to take it a step further and do a SEALFit Kokoro 50-hour thing. For others, it may be GoRuck Selection, or it may be both.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got
Yeah.
our crazy friend, Jonathan Hurtado, which is one of the guys that was
He is.
with you,
Yep.
has done Kokoro and Selection multiple times. He was in 015. He was in your class. He was one of the last people there. And, I stay in touch with him, and he continues to do events. And man, talk about some demons. There's some demons in there that you can't get rid of.
And you got to. I mean, you do this too. I think everyone's going to have some demons.
Yeah. Well, you got the demons that are the ones, and we call them demons, but it's really something inside that you need to wrestle with, and you need to take yourself to this extreme physical challenge to come to terms with. Are you going to cave? Are you going to persevere? And I don't call it losing. I mean, I look at my experience with Selection, and I think it's a big win for me, because one of the things that I took back immediately was that until I did Selection, I didn't fully realize the lessons that Kokoro had taught me.
Yeah.
And I didn't fully realize this until after Selection, because one of the things that we were talking about earlier was that this SEALFit Kokoro, the entire purpose was to bind this group of people who did not know one another, to bind them together in a way that was permanent and indelible, and bind them there through hard work, complete physical devastation, and humor.
Yeah.
It's always funny. So sweat, puke, hard work, and humor
Can't laugh at it.
binds
That's right.
people together more so than really anything else. We got through that. I didn't realize, 50 hours. I can go 50 hours without sleeping. I can work out for 50 hours. Wow. I can, we moved about 70 miles in Kokoro. That's incredible. That's the furthest I've ever gone. I went through tons of barriers. I extended myself in times of feeling like it's time to quit, realizing, no, I can do this, and going through, and an hour later, you feel like you're Superman, right? An hour before you couldn't raise your arms over your head. An hour later, you feel like you're Superman. So Kokoro went well. Selection went okay. I mean, but what was great for me about Selection is that I realized that without a team, I am really, really weak.
The same experience.
Very, very weak.
Yeah.
And that's the lesson that Kokoro should have taught me, right? And I'm sure that plenty of the people that I went through that with came away with that lesson. Wow, teamwork is awesome. I've got to go out and I've got to be a good team leader. And other lessons I learned there is that in order to be an exceptional leader, you have to be an exceptional follower. And you learn quickly what that means and how to execute that in your daily life. So then you go into Selection, and it's exactly the opposite. And you come away, and it's so much harder. It was so much harder for me. Other people may not have felt this way, but I found it to be unbelievably harder than Kokoro. And what was missing? It wasn't that the work was harder. Partly because you didn't get anything to eat at all, and we were fed in Kokoro. Partly because of that, but mostly because even from strangers, there was no opportunity to help anyone, and there was no opportunity to get help from anyone. And that made me realize that if you are having trouble in your life, and you put yourself on an island, and you just go out there and you don't ask anybody for any help, and you don't talk to anybody, and you stay away from your friends, and you stay away from the people that love you, and you don't talk to them about it and ask for help or do anything, man, you are setting yourself up for failure like nothing else that you can do. We as human beings will function the best as a team. I am 100% positive of that, and I do not have that in my background. My background in sports is wrestling, is swimming, is racquetball, is
same way.
all
I'm a
individual
distance runner
sports.
and a swimmer.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
same way. Yeah.
All individual sports, which lead you to believe that you are capable of doing anything that you want to, which is a great attitude, except when it's taken too far and you just put yourself out on that island and don't ask anyone for help.
Yep.
So if you can find a way to develop these leadership skills through reading books, that's amazing. Most people can't. Like I say, it is a temporary fix. You get a couple of ideas from each one of these books, and it's nice, and it lasts for a short period of time. You can go to a seminar or a weekend conference, and some of that is going to stick. But my experience of these two events is that when you go here, this is an absolute permanent change that you experience in your life.
It is. Yeah.
Unlike, well, it's really like a near-death experience. Like you see people that have a near-death experience, and they're different. From then on, they are different. They are never the same. That's how it was for me when I went to Kokoro, and that's how it was when I came back from selection. And even the fact that I did not finish selection, but I made it long enough to get
Exactly
all the
right.
challenge I needed, they gave me everything I wanted and more. Then, months later, I realized, wow, with a true epiphany of, wow, I really learned a lot more at selection. I mean, at Kokoro than I thought. And it took, I'm just hard headed, I guess. Some people might call me dumb. I mean, it takes another 20 hours of beatdown by Green Berets to let you realize the lesson that you learned the first time. Right. But for me, I came back and I was a better husband. I was a better father. I was a better leader in my business. I was a better fishing guide. I was a better television host. I was a better friend. I was better at every single thing in my life. And that has not stopped. I mean, I look at my life and I'm like, I can think of a couple of places in my life where it was like, before this event, I was one way. After this event, I was another. Okay. A big growth period.
Right.
Maybe it's high school graduation for some people. Maybe it's college graduation
And
for
it's
others.
a milestone.
Yeah, it's a milestone. Maybe you got your first job and all of a sudden reality sets in and no more screwing around. Now you're a different person, and that lasts for the rest of your life. Well, a lot of people want to challenge themselves with something like this. They read books about Navy SEALs or Green Berets or these things, but they're advanced in their life. They're 25, 28, maybe they've got a family. Maybe it's not the best time. Maybe they've already gone down some path of success or a path of a job, and they can't really, it's just not the right time to go be a Navy SEAL or go be a Green Beret. Some people can, right? At 20, 24, 25 years old, I'm going to totally change my life and I'm going to go down that road. But for the people that can't or don't want to, but they still want to see, could I do it? Man, those two events, they'll show you.
It's about as close as you're going to get, And what I was talking before, they literally take, I think, the most grueling part, of their week-long crucible and put it into 2 days.
I have no idea what really goes on in Bud's Hell Week, and I have no idea what really goes on in selection. But all I can tell you is that I signed up to get the ultimate challenge and to experience a crucible event. Now, whether that is what the Navy SEALs go through or what the Green Berets go through, it doesn't matter.
Oh, it delivered.
What it delivered for me was an absolute crucible event. And there was a person that walked into that event, and there was a person that walked out, and they weren't the same. And the same thing happened at selection, even to another level. And now I find myself kind of sitting back thinking, what's next? And I want another crucible event like that. I don't know that I want to sacrifice my body in that way. I mean, I'm gonna be 50, right? So could I step back to the line? I'm sure that I can. I know that I can step back to the line. But what's the point of stepping back to the line if I'm really not fully committed on finishing? And I know what that means. You know what that means. Some of the people that are listening to this might know what that means, but fully committed means you're ready to die to cross that finish line.
Yeah. Or on the other side of that, did you get enough out of it? Did you learn enough out of that experience to where you're comfortable with it? And if you did, you're not going to want to go back in there and be fully involved in it. So
well, and
you're going to look for that next crucible.
and it's also kind of like, do you have regrets? Like the first event, you come back, you got major regrets. Man, I'm better than that. I know I could do that.
Yeah.
I showed up hurt. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. I can do better. So you step back up. I walk away from selection thinking, I learned everything I needed to learn and way more. Like finishing, I'm not sure what more I would have learned. I'm sure it would have opened doors in my mind that I have no understanding of right now. But honestly, I gave it everything I had. I was completely and fully physically and mentally completely broken. I've never been like that, even close to that in my life. And they did it. They broke me completely. And I walked away from that, no regrets whatsoever. Absolutely no regrets. But you, on the other hand, are still searching. And
I am. So
what's next?
There may be another selection on the horizon. I'm not going to say that's not out. I think about it a lot, and I think I had a great experience with this last one. I took away a ton from it, and I'm still learning every day from selection. I think you continue from experience like that. But, I don't feel like there are any regrets. I go back and do think, hey, if I stuck it out for another 5 minutes, which if I did, I would have been on to the next exercise.
You never know.
And you go through and you never know. And so I always have that little bit of doubt and what if in my mind. And I'm doing some other events in between, some different events, and it kind of keep pushing forward to expand a little bit. But it's still there. There's still a little bit there.
What's the next event?
So we have a next event. It's called the Sea to Sea, and it's a venture race, and it's down in Florida, and it's a 72-hour race, and it starts on one coast and it finishes on the other coast, and it's a combination of navigation and map and compass, and trail running and mountain biking and paddling.
So there are known events.
There are
going into this.
There are known events. Roughly the total distance of each of, I say the cumulative distance of each. Each of the paddling stuff, and the rest you don't know until you get there. And so normally looking at something like this, and you have a partner, so it's a team event, which is a big plus too. But I think if you're talking to me to do this, because I've done some 24-hour ones before, which those are a stretch or a big commitment, you feel totally depleted after. If you told me to go do a 72-hour event, I may have said, no way. It's not something I can handle right now. Post-selection, after going through that, and I just made it 22 hours. I look at the 72-hour race like this and what's involved, and I'm excited. I'm like, let's do it.
Dude, well, all I know is you're not going to have 9 Green Berets chasing after you the whole time.
It's a completely different deal, and this is more of a this I consider a team building and working together and kind of self perseverance across the state of Florida, and so it's a more, I don't know, exciting, hopeful.
Well, it's certainly way different. I remember when I got back from selection and I'm watching the Ironman with Michael Miller, and we're looking at this event going by, and I was like, man, check that out. People are just giving them Gatorade. Like just people standing on the side of the road are like just giving them Gatorade. That looks awesome.
Eat whenever they want.
Not one person has a backpack on.
Right.
No one is wearing pants or boots. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Let's do this next time. It's amazing that how your perspective changes.
It does a lot. And with anything, I mean, like, so you put it back into work and family, and nothing seems too much, not overcomable, I guess you can say. So anything you can get through and work together and you can accomplish and get to your goal. And that's a big, big thing you take away from these events. And at least for me, moving forward. And there's still some drive out there, I think. And I like these and want to continue to do it and grow and hopefully take away, life lessons from every one of these things you do.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I know that I did. And I would say that that's probably a pretty good place to end this one. For those people who might have gotten some motivation to look into, I'm not going to say sign up for, but look into what selection is. You're going to find that by Googling GoRuck Selection. And if you do that, you're probably going to come across all kinds of information on selection. I will tell you that it is a very underground thing that only the most motivated, also the most crazy, and also the most disciplined people will embark on. If you choose to do it, I wish you luck. I'd love to hear your story.
Absolutely.
If you choose to do it and you don't make it, you are among the majority. If you choose to do it and don't even show up for the start line, you're in the majority. If you choose to do it and you are among one of the finishers, there's probably how many finishers total ever in history?
I don't know, maybe 24,
Yeah.
maybe at
Yeah,
that. I
a
forget
small
what it is.
number.
Yeah.
A small select number of people that are unbelievably mentally tough and physically prepared. Also, we talked about SEALFit Kokoro. That's easy to find also. You can Google Mark Devine. The organization that he has is SEALFit. The camp is called Kokoro. He also has something called Kokoro Yoga, which is entirely different. If you're looking for the supreme challenge, I'm sure Kokoro Yoga will give you a challenge, but it will not be the one that you will find in hour 37 of Kokoro. So Google those things, check them out. Go to SEALFit, and if you are so motivated, please make sure that you are ready before you sign up for those events. And ready means ready, like you are unstoppable. You are Superman. You feel like a superhero, and probably look like a superhero with weird muscles popping out all over your back from carrying a ruck. um, but anyway, I want to thank Patrick for coming and doing this with us.
You.
And if you enjoyed this, let us know. We will be back with Patrick's next challenge, and we find out if he did jump out of an airplane or not in the sea to sea. But anyway, thanks, guys. We'll talk to you later. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to the show. I hope you got something out of that. Got just a little bit of news. We have started a weekly show that is designed to be up-to-the-minute videos of what's happening this week, mostly in the Florida Keys, but also in other places that we fish as well. We'll be putting that out every week, and the best way to find that is to subscribe to the YouTube channel, YouTube/Saltwater Experience. Search Saltwater Experience on YouTube, subscribe to that channel, and you will get updates of when a new video is published. I've also figured out how to put the podcast on YouTube, finally. A lot of people like to put that window behind other things they're working on and listen to the podcast while they are working. So we now have that for you. And there is a playlist called Podcast. There's a playlist called Weekly Show. You can go and see all the new videos that we're putting up there. Started a new email address specifically for this show, and that is podcast@saltwaterexperience.com. podcast@saltwaterexperience.com. Those emails come directly to me. I'll see every single one of them. So if you have comments, suggestions, ways we can make the show better, and particularly if you have suggestions of someone you would like to see me sit down with in the hunting world, in the fishing world, in the outdoor sports world, or just a motivation, inspirational character, or someone that can teach us all something, I'm very interested in your suggestions. So that's podcast@saltwaterexperience.com. You can get the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, and we're also publishing it on the blog. The weekly show will be published on the blog too, but the best way is to go to YouTube, subscribe there, and you'll get it immediately when it's published. So until next week, thanks for listening, and we'll see you soon.